If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, preliminary matter on the AM docket, case number 62322 Boston Street. Request for hardship extension transfer has been postponed. Case number 1, Burgers Tavern, 5523 Bel Air Road, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. A request for hardship extension under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kanansky representing the applicant and request for hardship.
Good morning.
Good morning, and
Mr. Ziegler, who's the attorney for Mr. Berger. Trustee and
Morning.
trustee. Mr. Berger, senior, sitting there. We got.
If any of them are going to speak, would they raise their right hands, please, so we can swear them
Go
in?
ahead and I'll do most of the talking, hopefully.
raise your right hands. Do you swear, go ahead, do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Kanansky?
This is a request for a hardship extension. For the longest time, the property has been, and the license had been in an estate. Mr. Berger has been running the business, and finally they got to a sale. The trustee here, Ms. Herkroyd, sold it, and the last day they did business was either December 6th or December 8th. After the sale, we have provided the information concerning the operation, and they need the extension in order to complete the transfer of the license.
Okay, and so this is a request for how much time?
Well, 180-day extension.
180 days? Okay. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Then, did you all have any comment?
Just very quickly, on behalf of Mr. Berger, the owner of the tavern, we're at the 1 yard line.
Sir, we're gonna need to get your name before you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff Ziegler, Ziegler, on behalf of Mr. Berger, who's current owner of the property, along with some others. We're at the 1 yard line, as I started to say, using the Ravens football analogy. This has come a long way. Property's been sold at auction. The buyers, the integral part of the sale was the liquor license. There are a number of different states that are actually reliant upon this matter going to settlement. Once the settlement takes place, again, the buyer of the property intends to operate this matter, this location as a tavern. Losing the liquor license would pretty much set us back to the other 1 yard line and start us all over again and make the property fairly valueless.
Do you know when you're going to close?
I'm not sure when the closing date is set. Is there a closing date set at this
It
point?
was April 23rd until we, I'm Judy Harklerode, by the way, trustee.
Judy.
It was Harklerode, Harclerode. And I'm standing here today as the judicially appointed trustee, circuit court cases. We were scheduled for settlement on April 23rd, and then we found out that the Liquor License Board was examining the license, and so we've been unable to conclude the settlement at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, we expect that to happen as soon as possible, but having the extension will allow the property to maintain the value that it had at the time of the auction. Without it, it's worthless to the buyer. It may fall through, and we're hoping that won't happen. So we're asking for this extension just to give us enough time to settle on the property and let the new owner have the value that he paid for the property at auction, including the tavern. The building is just the building, so he does intend to operate it as a tavern, and the extension is quite important to this matter.
Commissioners, anything else?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, thank you then. On the basis of the request that was filed by Mr. Kanansky, his proffer, and the testimony that we've received this morning, I would vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
I concur and vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
I, too, vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you. May be excused.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yes, have a good day.
You too.
You're staying, right?
I got some.
There's no exhibits on that one, right?
No, no exhibits for the record.
Ludlow Market, 921 East Fort Avenue, Unit 135, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Request for hardship extension under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of Christopher Spann, the licensee on behalf of Ludlow Market, Riverside Avenue, Inc. The
More-
premises closed at the end of November of 2018 and is in the process of transferring the license to the landlord. And I've been in discussions with Mr. Woolman with regard to making that happen. The place will not reopen under the current tenancy. The business is not being sold. It's being transferred to the landlord, and he is acquiring a new tenant.
So you're going to need to have a request for reopening as well later?
Well, there will be a transfer to the ultimate end user. Yes.
Okay.
But we are cooperating with him to try to ensure that that license remains there.
Commissioners?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
On the basis then of your written request of May 22, Ms. Previs, and your proffer this morning, I vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
I concur and vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
I vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
No exhibits for the record.
Sign of the Times, 137-39 North Belnord Avenue, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Request for hardship extension under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
Sir, what is your name?
James Cassell.
Would you raise your right hand, please, sir?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
And are you related to Rosita Cassell?
Yes, sir.
How?
Husband.
That's your wife?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and she's not here?
Aye.
And, okay, and so she wrote us a letter saying she had unforeseen medical conditions. Is she doing any better?
She is coming along, but not good enough to go back into the business and work it. And I don't want to just turn it over to anybody because I don't want anybody into the neighborhood messing up their license and everything. So, I'm requesting, try to give me 6 months to try to get her health back together and everything so we can open up.
So you closed back in April?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you had the license?
About 12, 13 years.
Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of the written request that Ms. Cassell sent us as of May 21 and the testimony received from Mr. Cassell this morning, I vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
I concur and vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension.
I vote to approve a 180-day hardship
Good luck.
extension. Good luck.
Thank y'all.
Good luck.
No exhibits for the record.
Nick's Inner Harbor Seafood, Cross Street Market, Class D, beer and wine license. Request for hardship extension under Article 12-2202. Please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Previs on behalf of the licensees. With me today is Ms. Hyung Lee, one of the licensees. Mr. Kwang Lee is not present, but is...
Could you raise your right hand, ma'am, please?
You swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, so we have your letter requesting 180 days because the transfer has not occurred yet?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is the Nick Seafood license. And there are plans to transfer this license to Mr. Jay Lee's driving range over in East Baltimore.
To a golf driving range? And so that'll be interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen it from the highway, but the off of 895 on Kane Street, if you look to your right, you'll see some big old netting and some containers behind it.
Okay.
That's the thought right now.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions.
Questions?
Okay, thank you. On the basis then of your written request of May 22 and the proffer this morning, I would vote to approve 180-day hardship extension.
I concur and vote to approve 180-day hardship extension.
I vote to approve a 180-day hardship extension. Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
No exhibits for the record.
Portside Tavern and Lounge, 2821-23 O'Donnell Street. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license. Request for a transfer hardship extension under Article 12-1705, small b. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Canensi, representing the prospective licensees.
And this gentleman to your right,
It's one of the prospective licensees.
would you raise your right hand, sir, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And what is your name?
Ganesh Vijay Kanwar.
Do you mind spelling it for the gentleman down here to my left?
Are you Ganesh Kunwar?
Ganesh Kanwar, yeah.
Oh, okay.
First name.
Okay, got it.
There need additional time. Everything's been approved, they got their UNO, they got everything. Was a problem with the tax comptroller's office because Sheree Balaji had done some business in the county years ago, and for some reason, they can't reconcile the two tax accounts. And they're just about, right there, as they have to go up to the comptroller's office and spend some time, because the Sheree Balaji that was in Baltimore County had transferred that license a couple times, but for some reason, they can't reconcile the accounts to get a complete release, tax release. So they need some additional time to go ahead and do that, but everything else has pretty much been done.
So this is a 180-day request?
90.
90-day request? Okay. All right, Commissioners?
No questions.
No questions.
Thank you. On the basis then of Mr. Gumwar's letter to the board, which I don't think is dated, but I have it here, and the proffer from council, I would vote to approve a 90-day hardship extension.
I vote to approve a 90-day hardship extension.
I vote to approve a 90-day hardship extension.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Go ahead and go.
No exhibits for the record.
And so is that the morning docket then?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until 1 p.m.
What's Larry going to do?
I brought my sandwich just in case. I'm trying to do that now. I might get extra ones for you all.
Okay. Good afternoon. Now begins the PM session of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City. If you're in possession of any type of electronic device, please place said device on the off or silent mode during proceedings. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, preliminary matter, case number 2, 1 Sports Bar and Lounge, 4314-16 Curtis Avenue. This case has been postponed and will be recalled on July the 11th. I call the case of Lombard Liquor and Bar, 1000 West Lombard Street, Class BD7, Beer, Wine, and Liquor License, here for violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct, on October the 10th, 2018, violation of Tax General Article 13-1014, small a, willful possession, sale, or offer to sell unstamped or improperly stamped cigarettes on October the 10th, 2018. Please come forward.
For the record, Melvin J. Kadensky, representing licensee.
Good afternoon. Will all those who are going to testify please raise your right hands?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Kadensky, there are 2 violations charged. Will they be admissions or denials?
There'll be denials. The cases in which they were based on were null pros by the Comptroller's Office and the District Court.
They went to the district court?
I went to District Court. I got the summaries if you want to see.
I'm just curious. So how did they get to the district court? From the comptroller's office?
Yeah, they usually move those along, and then both the cases were null pros a few
Okay.
weeks ago.
Okay. You're going to testify? Inspector?
Agent Chris Malice, Baltimore City Liquor Board. Chairman, this case was the comptroller's case. They called us in for support, just to be there. I did speak with the agent. She was summoned to come. She was put on special assignment in Ocean City with the rest of her team and could not be here. She did tell me that the case was null processed and that they had to pay, I think, a small fee for taxes for some of the tobacco products that they couldn't provide receipts for.
Did she have a recommendation?
She did not give a recommendation. She said it was, I know that originally we took a large amount of tobacco. About a week later, some receipts were provided from the licensee to the comptroller's office, and some of the stuff, I believe, was given back to you. And then when they went to court, whatever stuff they couldn't provide receipts for, they paid money. They paid taxes, and then it was null processed.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You submit the court records.
They'll be received.
There were 2 cases, both null processed. I think the trial summaries are behind it.
So is that an accurate statement that some was returned and that which was not returned, the taxes were
Found
paid?
they couldn't find some receipts for some of them, and they, rather than prolong the matter, they decided to resolve on a null process, and they had paid some tax on items they couldn't find the receipts for. I didn't do the case. It was our esteemed colleague, Mr. Gary Maslin. He seems to be the tobacco king. Him and the grasshopper.
Okay. Do you want to see these in all process?
I got an extra set if you want.
No, no,
Oh, yeah, I-
Doesn't
Thank
tell you
you.
a whole lot.
no, it doesn't.
It merely states that
I'm sorry. It's okay.
there was an agreement. Okay. So, the licensee is not denying that on October 10, 2018, there was a problem. Her position is that it was rectified thereafter?
Yes, and it was a case that had been pending before you had your protest renewal, so, and the reason why it was pending that time, because they were trying to find out what the controller's office wanted to do, and it resolved with the controller's office with regard to the null process.
Just so I understand the process, Mr. Kudinski, so so they challenged the decision by the comptroller's office and went directly to the district court?
No, the controller issues a summons,
Oh, to
and
the
that
di-
summons goes to the district court. And
Because
that's-
it's a criminal violation?
Yeah, that's sort of.
It's,
They issue criminal citations.
yeah.
And then they have the option to go to court for the criminal citation.
Okay. And ma'am, you are here, why?
I am here as a resident.
Can you step, we need your name, please.
Yes, my name is Jane Bucheri, B-U-C-C-H-E-R-I. I am here as a resident in the neighborhood just because I also had a few questions about the Knoll process. In looking at the state records, the charge was not brought against Mrs. Singh, it was brought against Mr. Singh, who is not on the business license, the liquor license, or the property license. So my concern was it no process because they did not charge the correct person?
But I have no idea who they charge
They
or why
charged-
they
they
charge.
charged
but
Mr.
that-
Singh.
But we have nothing to do with any of that. That's up to the state's attorney's office, the district court.
And in addition, I think this is a pattern. This is just another example that this licensee does not believe that the laws apply to them. I mean, they were here 2 weeks ago for serving a minor. They ignored the CHAP laws for 2.5 years until they had a meeting with the liquor board and were kind of forced to follow the CHAP rules. They did renovations, expanded the carryout part of the liquor store with no permits. So I think it's an example of that. They don't think the laws apply to them. So I think the consequences should reflect that.
Well, I will indicate that this predeceases that all those other matters. The CHAPS matter has all been resolved with CHAPS. All those other ones, this was a case that was lingering at the time because they weren't sure how they were going to resolve it. I think the reason why her husband, because he hadn't been there when they came in. I would think that this, since it was resolved, it's sort of a situation where, it's a raised judicata collateral estoppel, de minimis. I mean, I can go on for that, and this was the last of the issues that was pending with regard to license.
According to the state records, Mr. Singh was not there when they came in. They called him, then his son was called, and then his wife was called. So I'd like to clarify that with him under oath, whether he was there at the time or not, because according to the state records, he was not.
Well, I got the summons was issued to him when he was there, so I'm not gonna.
He was called, according to her.
But it really is not relevant to our proceeding anyway, who got charged, who didn't get charged, and it's not res judicata. We have entirely different standards.
Anyway, you gotta make the argument, because somewhere along the line, the basic and fundamental principles of fairness and justice under our system that we have apply, and, I think it was too many things were dumped on this licensee, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have been brought to your attention, I'm not saying it that way, but this was something that had been pending before and was brought up when we had the hearing.
Okay. Anything further? Commissioners?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Then, on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, on the basis of the proffers from counsel and the testimony received, I'd find a violation of Rule 4.16 on October 10, 2018, and also a violation of the Tax General Article 13-1014, small a, on October 10, 2018. Don't have a good record, as was pointed out by this lady who came in. Obviously, this matter got resolved to the satisfaction of the Comptroller's Office, and we have separate jurisdiction. I would normally perhaps dismiss it, except for the record. I don't think I can do that. So
I don't want to interrupt, but that section 12 that you're adhering to, I think that case was the one that was null pros, but you're to leave your rule, but I don't want to argue.
What are you referring to?
Section 12 or section?
What are you referring to?
You mean
the second violation?
Yeah.
Tax general
Oh,
article?
Yeah, it's a tax
Section
general article that was null pros.
Yeah, the criminal action was not pros, but not this.
Well, but I'm saying is that there was no action on that section. I'm not going to argue that, and they wound up paying them, a fine and lost some of their products. So I want you to take that into consideration. It was the older matter was pending way before the other stuff was here.
Understood.
Okay. So as to the 4.16 violation, I'd impose a $500 fine and give them 30 days to pay. As to the second violation, I would do the same, $500 and 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
I too find a violation of Rule 4.16 on October 10, 2018, and a violation of Tax General Article Section 13-1014, small a, on October 10, 2018, and I concur with the imposition of a $500 fine as to each.
I find a violation of Rule 4.16 on October 10, 2018, and would concur with the imposition of a $500 fine. I also find a violation of Tax General Article Section 13-1014A, and would concur with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to call the exhibits for the record. Licensee Exhibit Number 1, Case Summary of District Court Cases against Harpal Badwal. Boards Exhibit Number 1, Comptroller's Case File.
I'm sorry. Okay, that was the big.
Can you head down over there? Give it to you.
Sun Tavern and Liquor Store, 308 North Utah Street, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 3.08, small a, sanitation and safety on April the 26th, 2019. Violation of Rule 3.09, small b, restroom facilities and health regulations on April the 26th, 2019. Please come forward.
Will all those who are going to provide testimony, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
What is your name, sir?
Gurdeep Singh, sir.
Mr. Singh, you have two violations charged both on April 26, 2019. Do you admit or deny them?
I denied one, I admit one.
Which one are you admitting?
It's a sanitation and safety is a
The-
explanation, and I denied that the bar has been used hookahs. We never been used hookahs in our bar.
Okay, well, maybe let's just assume that they're denials as to both. Let's have testimony.
Detective L.C. Greenhill, Vice Enforcement. On 26 April of this year at 8:55 p.m., myself along with members of Vice liquor agents from Baltimore City Liquor Control Board, Health Department, investigators from Housing, always make up Social Club Task Force, conducted an inspection at Sun Tavern and Liquors, located at 308 North Utah Street. The listed licensees were not present, but night manager S. Singh was present and in full operational control of the premises. While on the scene, housing investigators conducted a follow-up investigation themselves from a year ago. 1 year ago, housing investigators were at the location known as Sun Taverns and observed and wrote up notices concerning numerous housing code violations. A year later, on 26 April 2019, Housing investigators observed and found the same housing code violations that were written up a year ago were not corrected by the licensee and/or management of the establishment. Housing investigators advised that numerous citations would be issued for the uncorrected code violations. Inspectors from the health department observed and found minor violations consisting of charcoal hookahs, which are fire code violations. Agents from the liquor board, as well as Vice, observed minor violations consisting of the 3-tub sink not properly set up, with personal dishes in the sink. No other violations observed by either agencies at that time. The establishment known as Sunshine Taverns remained open and left in the control of night manager Mr. S. Singh.
Mr. Singh, do you have questions you want to ask the detective?
Yes, sir, and I'm going back. In April 2018, we have two business in,
You can ask him a question.
no questions.
Okay. So is there anybody else who's going to testify?
Inspector Holmes, Fire Marshal's Office.
First name?
I went, Inspector Del Holmes, Fire Marshal's Office.
2 L's or just
1 L. Okay. My interaction with Sunshine Liquors was on the 30th, which was a follow-up.
30th of April?
30th of April, which was the follow-up from when the other part of the group went from the 26th. And I observed several violations that I wrote a spot notice for from the fire department to the manager on location, and did a second follow-up 30 days later. What I ended up having to do at that particular time, I ended up writing an environmental citation from us, fining him for violations that he just did not complete or comply with the original spot notice that I gave him. In actual, one of the violations was where I had him to remove and abate a violation at the time that I was there, but when I followed up with it, they put the exact same thing in the exact same place.
Could you tell us a little bit more
Well,
what the?
what it was is that they had hot plates behind the bar, and they had to remove them. I asked them to remove them on the 30th of April. He removed it. When I went back for the follow-up to check on the other violations that I had given him, none of the violations had been abated, and that hot plate was back in the same spot. So that's what prompted me to then write him a citation, fining him.
What was the amount of the fine?
I wrote him two. One was for $250, and the second one was for $500.
They've been paid?
I haven't received any notice on whether or not he was contesting it as of yet, but he still has time if he's going to.
That was issued on May 30?
That was on May 30th. So he actually had 30 days to comply with the original spot notice that I gave him.
Mr. Singh, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
Not question.
Okay. Anybody else testifying?
Is there anyone from Housing
Or the health,
Health Department?
The Health Department.
Yeah, please. You don't have to repeat the testimony if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, but if you could be just a little more, if someone could be more specific on what the specific violations.
But first, give us your name, please, sir.
Todd Ward, Baltimore City Health Department.
Okay, thank you.
All right, during our inspection, we observed evidence of insect infestation. Live cockroaches were running around under the bar. We saw evidence of rodent infestation, some droppings. And we've also requested an updated pest control contract. And we asked that it be available for the next time we re-inspect.
And what's the status of all that? Is it waiting?
We haven't had a re-inspection yet.
and when will that take place?
Not sure. Typically these get assigned to the person's area, or we have an inspector for that area, and the previous inspector left her position, and we're still trying to assign people to that area.
But you didn't close the establishment?
No, sir.
Were they fined at all?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Did you have questions for Mr. Ward?
No, sir, but I have all the.
I'll let you talk, but I have to go through the process
no
first. Anyone else? Okay. Now, Mr. Singh, you'd like to be heard?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In April 2018, we have two establishment on 308. One is Sunson Liquor and one is Messi Pizza. In
What's the second one?
Messi Pizza.
The pizza?
Yes, a pizza store.
Okay.
In 2018, the task force happened, but it not happened in my store. It happened in the next Messi stores, and they shut them for 1 week for that. And mine was in 2018 was a regular inspection, and nothing I have been noticed to improve these things. And on this year, 2019, April 26th, the task force come in my place, and they gave me the notice and for everything to be done. And I called because it should be done by the certified engineer. So I called the couple, but they don't have any time. And now we are doing every work what they tell us to do, and that's what I have. I'm confused about. In April 2018, nobody came in my store for the task, like all the 3 departments. This year they came, and we are repairing everything that what they tell us to have to be done, and it will be done in 10 days. That's what I didn't pay the fine. I want to go to the court because it was a confusion. In 2018, they don't came in my place, sir.
So you don't own the pizza place?
No, sir, I don't.
So where's Detective or Mr. Holmes, is he accurate that it wasn't his place a year ago?
I wasn't there.
Does anybody know?
And I wasn't there. You don't. The representative, we need representatives from housing, but this particular representative wasn't on this particular case. I would have to contact housing and try to find out who was there a year ago.
Okay. So is your location connected to the pizza place?
Yes, sir. It's a one building. They put a wall between, and they make a. They didn't do the address A, B, or B. It's only come in one address, 308, mine and them too.
So is it so he was cited and he has time now to make the corrections, is that correct?
My corrections that he needed to do, he has time, but it was at the bar. It was not at.
Well, I understand. He's saying that this year it happened at the bar.
Yes.
And that's yours. But that time has not elapsed yet for him to do the corrections?
Well, he actually had, his original time was 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him 30 days because I always try to give someone a little extra time just in case they can't get a contract. I gave him 30. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Some of the things, and as I explained to him when I went to him, some of the things he could have done himself. He did not need a contractor to do. So when I pointed it out to him, in every violation that I give to someone, I will walk them through it and point it out to them, which is, I did it a second time when I went and ended up citing him, so.
Okay. Do you have any questions based on that?
Yes, sir. He's right. I'm wrong on that we should remove the hot plate. We removed it, and one of our morning employee, he boils coffee. He don't know that. We just hired him, so we removed the plate from now. And for that, for doing all the thing, I need the contract, but they were busy. So I request him to that, but he gave me fine, and it's all right. He's right on his notes, but right now we are doing everything, and I'm gonna be done in the next 5 days. I'm gonna call him, and he can inspect everything.
Okay. Commissioners, you have questions?
No questions.
No questions.
All right. Thank you. Anything further, sir? Okay. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 3.08 small a on April 26, 2019, and a violation of Rule 3.09 small b on April 26, 2019. So you've already been subjected to a $750 fine.
Which he hasn't paid yet.
Not yet.
That we're aware of, right?
And is that whether he corrects it or not, he's got to pay that?
That's whether he corrects it or not, it's been issued.
Okay. To add to that, I would add a $250 fine as to each of these violations and give you 30 days to pay.
I concur with the violation of, or I too find a violation of Rule 3.08 08 small a on April 26, 2019, and I concur with the imposition of a $250 fine with 30 days to pay, and I too find a violation of Rule 3.09 small b on April 26, 2019, and I concur with the imposition of a $250 fine,
I find a
30
vi-
days to pay.
I'm sorry, I find a violation of Rule 3.08A on April 26, 2019, and find a violation of Rule 3.09B on April 26, 2019. Since this is, since you only have one other previous violation, and you, as the chairman said, have a $750 total citations waiting for you to be paid, I would agree with the imposition of a $250 fine as to each.
You understand, sir? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to call the exhibits for the record. Exhibit number 1, police report dated April 26, 2019, from Detective L.C. Greenhill.
Sangria, 930 North Charles Street, Class B, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 3.09 small b, restroom facilities and health regulations, April 26, 2019. Please come forward.
Good afternoon. For the record, Justin Williams, from law firm Rosenberg Martin Greenberg, on behalf of the respondent, Sangria LLC. The licensee is unavailable to attend. I have the general manager of the establishment, Melissa Long, if that's okay with the board.
That's fine, thank you. Good afternoon. Would all those who are going to testify raise their right hands, please?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Admission or denial, Mr. Williams?
We'll admit.
Okay. Do you wish to be heard?
Yes, please. So I guess we admit, I don't know if the board has the authority to even grant Alfred plea or probation, but I have some background information for your consideration that the licensee has already suffered a pretty harsh penalty here. I don't know if you've read the report that the detectives put in the record. The violations were about a grease trap not being hooked up properly and acoustical tiles over the ceiling, which compared to the last member, a licensee before the board, seems relatively minor, and the inspection task force did not shut down the establishment that had rodent droppings and infestations of cockroaches. Our applicant received our licensee received a health department inspection, or new permit on February 27, 2019. I'll make an exhibit.
It'll be received.
So only a month later, the inspection task force came in and raided them, but it wasn't like Sangria was being a bad actor or ignoring prior inspections or violation notices. I've reached out to Councilman Costello, Delegate Mosby, and Senator Hayes to see if there's been complaints or some reason why they're under a special scrutiny, and I received no information from them about this. By closing the establishment, like you'll see in the record, the manager cooperated with the task force fully, and they agreed to close, and they lost $5,000 to $7,000 of revenue that night, and they immediately were able to reopen the next day. And I have pictures for you also. Make it exhibit 2 of the repaired grease trap, and exhibit 3 of the acoustical tiles being repaired. And so for those reasons, that's the board to consider a lenient sentence if not, if there's a probation before judgment, so there's not a stain on the record. Again, we've cooperated fully. And other instances of health code violations, they're usually given an opportunity to remediate them within a certain time period. We heard 30 days for the last licensee, and here we did it the next day.
You wish to be heard?
I have representatives from each agency that might want to be heard.
Who wishes to be heard?
Department of Housing.
Please come forward and give us your name.
Investigator Charles Hensler with the Department of Housing Special Investigations Unit. On Friday, April 26, 2019, at approximately 10:32 p.m., the Social Club Task Force arrived at 930 North Charles Street, Club Sangria, for a routine inspection. The business was open and operating until being closed down by the Health Department inspectors for kitchen violations: defective stove, flat top grill, water temperature, defective sub pump, and defective PCV pipes with wrapped cloth around the defects, defective rear emergency light, it did not illuminate. So if there was a power outage, no one could see the exit door in the darkness. I have photographs of the violations that were taken and a brief labeling description of them.
So, did you return the following day? Is that what happened?
No, they were only shut down for 24 hours as far as I was understanding.
Okay, and why was that?
The health department was the one who shut them down, so they were the ones who made the ruling decision. Our violations could have been corrected within 10 to 30 days.
Okay, but yours are not part of this, or they are? I'm confused. I thought it was the housing.
Right.
So we have health department inspectors close the establishment.
Health
right?
Department closed it based off their violations. And most businesses, if they choose to do so, can request a special reinspection, where they come out under, the health department will come out the very next day for a fee. I have seen this in my 16 years of life. I have seen that in various businesses that choose to, in a place like Sangria, a place that may lose an amount of revenue. Some businesses can request a special reinspection by the health department.
Can we have someone from the health department explain why they were shut down? Is there someone here?
Yes, there's someone here.
Health department right here.
Thank you.
But, excuse me, you're from which department?
Department of Housing.
Okay.
Todd Ward, Baltimore City Health Department. Ms. Denise Roll and I were on the task force that evening, and we inspected the kitchen, and we found that the grease trap was not attached to the drain off the sink. Let me pull up my report quickly.
But did you go back the following day?
Yes, I was called on Saturday, the next day, and I was requested to go back and re-inspect so they could open up.
And was everything fixed by them that you had asked?
Most items were fixed. The ceiling tiles over the cooking area have, to my knowledge, have not been replaced with a smooth material yet. It was an acoustical tile that absorbs grease, and it's not easily cleanable, and that goes against the food code. The grease trap was reattached, and the area was clean, the floor was cleaned up, utensils were cleaned. But there was one room that it was a separate closet with a sump pump that still had evidence of grease droppings all over it. And that was the room where the pipes were covered with cloth. The pipes were repaired, but the room had not been cleaned. But I did allow them to reopen.
Okay, anything further? Yes, ma'am. Your name, please?
My name is Denise Roll. I am one of the inspectors for the health department. This facility happens to be in my routine inspection area. I left several messages at their door. I called them several times in an attempt to come in and do a routine inspection and was not called back. I also attempted to contact them about an incomplete HACCP compliance, which is a compliance form letting us know how their food is prepared. We never received anything about that. Their menu, as posted on the internet, did not compare with the HACCP. So they were doing food that was beyond what they had submitted to us to be done. So I asked that it be added to the task force so that we could go out, since they're only open in the evenings. So we went out and we found things that were purposely done wrong. The grease trap was purposely disconnected and redirected. Food was being served that was 55 and 60 degrees. And there were several pieces of equipment that were added to the facility with a home quality extension cord being added to it. So and the gentleman that was working there really could not explain anything about what he was doing. So we thought for public health that we would close them. And it was late anyway, so we were hoping that the facility would not lose too much income because of that.
What time of the night was it? It says 10:35.
Yeah, I believe it's 10:30, yes.
Okay, do you have questions for any of these people, Mr. Williams?
No, I guess just argument or.
Okay.
We do have one more from the fire department.
Yes, sir.
Testify.
Yeah, I'm Chief Sean Eames, Officer of the Fire Marshal.
Your first name, sir?
Sean Eames.
Sean,
Eames. On the evening of April the 26th, as part of the task force, we did an inspection. Just a couple minor violations. They had to repair the exit signage in the rear. The kitchen exhaust hood needed cleaning. It was really built up with grease. They needed to provide emergency lighting in the bar area as well as in the rear. And they had a patio heater in the rear that was very close to the building. We just asked them to either move it out or move it further away. I didn't issue any fines or anything, and I didn't close them.
And have those things been repaired?
I tried to do a reinspection. When I went back, they were closed, so I haven't had a chance to do a reinspection this time.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
I guess it's an argument that, well, I'll assert that our position was in talking to one of the owners of Sangria that they tried to respond to Mr. Rohr, and wasn't able to. They received mail. I mean, in the police report, it indicated that mail was being returned, but I mean, we received notice in the mail of this proceeding, so I can't speak to that. Again, establishment cooperated according to the police report, and we're not denying that there were violations. It just seems that the penalty that they've already experienced by having to close the business early 3 hours before, or 2.5 hours before the closing time, and having to appear before the board here. And I have one more, Exhibit 4, showing that they drained the sump pump that was alleged to have, have extra buildup of grease. And for those reasons, hope the board would consider some sort of probation before judgment and or no fine in light of the punishment they've already had to endure.
And what's the status, from your perspective, of the housing code violations and the fire violations?
I was not made aware of that. I was prepared today to argue about the reason that we have a liquor board violation, which is a health code violation. I can get back to you or look into the rest and the other violations as well.
Okay, so you're not aware of what the situation is?
Either way, no.
Commissioners?
No questions.
No question.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents, the testimony received and the exhibits received, I find a violation of Rule 3.09 small b on April 26, 2019. I take into account in mitigation the loss of revenue as well as the efforts to make repairs promptly, and the fact that while the licensees had this license since 2015, there's been no former violation. So I would impose a nominal sanction of a $250 fine and give them 30 days to pay.
I, too, find a violation of Rule 3.09B on April 26, 2019, for the same reasons as the chairman mentioned. And I concur with the imposition of a $250 fine.
So I find a violation of Rule 3.09B on April 26, 2019, and would concur with the imposition of a $250 fine. It sounds to me that there's a communication disconnect, and hopefully the parties can actually communicate and resolve these without anybody having to be shut down.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit Number 1, Police Report dated April 26, 2019, submitted by L.C. Greenhill. Exhibit Number 2, photos from the Department of Housing and Community Development. Licensees, Exhibit Number 1, copy of Health Department permit. Exhibit Number 2, picture of fixed ceiling tiles. Exhibit Number 3, picture of the fixed grease trap. Exhibit Number 4, an invoice indicating the grease trap had been fixed.
Mystic Tavern, 2949 Frederick Avenue, Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license. Here for violation of Rule 3.12, General Welfare, February the 3rd, 2019. Violation of Rule 4.16, Illegal Conduct, February the 3rd, 2019. Please come forward.
For those who are going to testify, please raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What is your name, sir?
Marvin Kosh.
Are you the licensee? I have Tanya Williams. Is that your wife?
My wife.
Okay.
She's at the hospital with my daughter.
Okay. I hope your daughter's all right.
That's it.
So you're charged with two violations relating to loud music on February 3, 2019. Do you wish to admit or deny the violations?
Deny.
Okay. Inspector Perez?
Andy Perez, Baltimore City Liquor Board. February 3rd, 2019, approximately 8:26 p.m. Complaint 19-000641111 was received in reference to loud music at Mr. Tavern, located at 2949 Frederick Avenue. Inspector Perez visited the location at approximately 10 p.m., and after making observation of the establishment for several minutes, I was able to hear loud music emanating from the establishment at the nearest resident located right across the establishment at the corner of Frederick Avenue and Parksley Avenue. Establishment could not be notified of the violation at the time because of concern on my safety.
Do you have questions for the inspector?
Yes.
Go ahead.
When you came there with the people that were standing in front, how were they dressed? February the 3rd, if you
Normal, my normal dress, looks like you and I dress right now.
They wasn't in suits and ties and all that?
No.
Actually, that was the day I buried my brother, February the 3rd.
Okay.
A family gathering right there. And where were you parked at, though? Did you ever come in the bar?
I didn't come into the bar.
You did?
I was parked on Frederick Avenue, and then I moved myself to Parksley Avenue.
You came in the bar?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
So where the music was coming from?
From your bar, through the rear.
From the rear?
Yes.
That's all I had to ask.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to testify about, sir?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I know we didn't have no loud music going on. He said I can ask him one more question. Did you ever get out the car?
I didn't. Not on that night.
You didn't?
No.
So how could you hear music then?
I had my windows down. I parked myself right next to the establishment, about 20 feet.
And there wasn't a lot of cars parked right there at the time?
Not on the side of the street that I was parked on.
You was parked on Parksley?
Yes.
Was this a 311 complaint that you
Yes,
were?
it was.
One complaint or more than one? Do you know how many complaints there were?
I mean, just for that night, it was only one. I have responded to numerous complaints in the past, which I didn't find loud music.
You responded to numerous up there at Mystics?
Yes.
You talked to me ever?
I have.
You did one time, right?
One time.
All right, then when you came up with the chief inspector, I've been working with y'all ever since then, right?
Correct.
About this one person.
Correct. You're very cooperative. I'm sorry.
All right, and then we also had with chief inspector and lieutenant of the fire department, we also did the music test as far as knocked on neighbors' doors and all that, right? We had one problem with one neighbor, right?
I can testify to that. I was not there at that time.
But you do also know about the one neighbor that we know.
I heard comments.
And y'all personally left cards there.
That's correct.
Did he ever get to
I
y'all?
can testify to that. I was not part of that.
That's all I got to say.
Okay. Commissioners?
No questions.
All right, thank you. On the basis then of the materials contained in the charging documents and the testimony received, I find a violation of Rule 3.12 on February 3, 2019, and a violation of Rule 4.16 on February 3, 2019. The record is not great, but in light of the inspector's testimony that you're working with them, cooperating with them, I would impose a $250 fine as to each and give you 30 days to pay. It's a total of $500.
I too find a violation of Rule 3.12 on February 3rd, 2019. I concur with the imposition of $250 fine. And I find a violation of Rule 4.16, illegal conduct on February 3rd, 2019, and concur with the imposition of the $250 fine. And I would continue to encourage you to work with everyone else.
I find a violation of Rule 3.12 on February 3rd. Concur with the imposition of a $250 fine. Find a violation of Rule 4.16 on February 3rd, 2019. I would also concur with the imposition of a $250 fine.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question, though?
Yes.
Is it liquor board practice as far as the ride pass in the car, just if they hear music, they don't come in the bar, notify nobody as far as the owners or whatever?
They respond to the 311 calls. I think the inspector's report indicates that he didn't come in because of the large congregating crowd. Is that what?
That's correct.
Yeah. And apparently he's familiar with it. It is what it is, gentlemen. Thank you. Is that our docket for today?
What was your name, sir?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. The board is in recess until Thursday, June the 20th, 11 a.m.
Are there any exhibits to be called?